Hi, I'm Joseph. And we're team one, malaria transmission and symptoms.
What is malaria? Malaria is a disease transmitted by mosquitoes, killing about 2.7 million people each year. Our team focused on bringing communities and Bauchi awareness on the transmission and symptoms of malaria. I'm Janaya, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I'm a Rise Junior.
I'm Sophia, and I'm a rising junior too.
I'm Mackenzie Tatum, and I'm a rising junior. I'm from DC.
I'm Adi Balaji. I'm a rising junior as well, and I'm from Wisconsin.
I'm Lasia. I'm a rising junior from Dublin, California.
I'm Antonio. I'm a rising junior from North Carolina.
I'm Divjot. I'm a rising junior from Illinois.
All right, so let's talk about the causes and transmissions of malaria. As we all know, malaria spreads through female Anopheles mosquitoes. And this is a vector-borne disease, which means that the disease is spread through red blood cells, contaminated red blood cells. And so this means that once an infected mosquito bites a human, the human gets infected. And once the infected human gets bitten by a regular mosquito, then the mosquito gets bitten as well. And so other than mosquito bites, malaria can also be transmitted through contaminated needles and syringes. And the most common age group for contaminating malaria are pregnant women and children's younger than 5, and also people with weak immune systems, such as HIV patients.
Common symptoms of malaria: body weakness, shortness of breath, nausea and vomiting, chills and sweats, fever, dry cough, and stomach pain.
High risk areas. So areas that are under high risk for being affected by malaria can be places like impoverished communities, places with a less developed infrastructure, and places with lack of education about it. The less informed areas can have less prevention resources, and they won't be able to know exactly what they need to do to prevent it. So that increases the risk of it. And then populations with higher risk to contracting the disease are pregnant women, children, and people with compromised immune systems.
Spinning off of what Adi said, malaria also has direct impacts of the health of Nigerians, it being the leading cause of death in Nigeria, with 95,000 kids dying each year of it. But it also has impacts on the socioeconomic structures in Nigeria. On one hand, the poor people are the most susceptible to malaria due to lack of environmental management, creating malaria breeding grounds, a lack of tools, resources, and education, and the inability to afford treatment and medications in certain situations. On the other hand, malaria also keeps the poor because it acts as a barrier from being able to attend school, work, or other paths to upward social mobility. Experts even say that many low-income families in areas with malaria have several kids in order to make sure that there's a viable heir, and kids aren't dying. There's still kids after some might not survive the disease. And because of this, there's not enough resources put into each individual child's education, which also lowers the quality of education and upward social mobility. That being said, this makes malaria a cyclical problem, which keeps the poor and also affects them the hardest. Another socioeconomic group that's hardly impacted by malaria are women, because of patriarchal power imbalances that discourage them from accessing treatment and care once they contracted the disease.
So our community workshop, the goal is to spread awareness about malaria's transmissions and symptoms in a memorable way to the Bauchi community through cards, posters, and storybooks. Our target audience includes community leaders who will be able to place the posters in hotspots around the community, such as stores, restaurants, and even hospitals like in areas such as maternity wards where the higher risk populations such as pregnant women will be able to see them. And then there's also teachers for our target audience, which will be able to take the storybooks to their schools and take the information outside of the workshop. And then adults who will be able to take the playing cards and hopefully be able to learn how to identify the transmissions and symptoms.
Our first workshop activity is a malaria memory match game using custom-made malaria-themed cards. This is useful because it's able to bring malaria education into everyday activities for all different age groups, from young people that like playing sillier games to older people that like playing betting games. And these cards are also used in Nigeria like they are in America.
For the storybook, the facilitator will be able to read the book aloud to the teachers so they know the story and lesson in it. And then the teachers, once they go back to their classrooms outside the workshop, they can pass the information on to the children so they can also understand the signs and symptoms of malaria in an easy way that's good for them to understand.
So Go Away Mosquito is a little book that talks about a little boy. His name is Musa, and he does not know anything about the transmission and causes, symptoms of malaria. So one day he was out at a lake and he was just playing football, but suddenly he got a mosquito bite and he didn't know anything about it. So he kind of just ignored it until later on he started experiencing symptoms such as fever that is going on, and his mom got worried. So she decided to take him to the hospital.
So once he's at the hospital, the doctor will diagnose and say, oh, you have malaria and you got it by playing at the lake and you got a mosquito bite. That's how you got malaria. So we're going to give you some medication and you're going to feel better. But to keep from getting malaria again, make sure you use mosquito nets and repellent to make sure you don't get it again. So that way Musa is now happy and safe, knowing that he can prevent himself from getting malaria in the future. This story can also be translated into Hausa, so it's easier for the people of Bauchi to understand if they don't speak English as well. And these are some bits of the story. That's what's up.
Towards the end of our storybook, we also incorporated a traditional paper game that's played all around the world, known as like fortune tellers, or culturally more known as four cups. So we designed a template that can either be that students can either transfer on their own square sheet of paper or be printed out on the link on the page before this. And we also have kind of a demonstration of how it works. So at the workshop, teachers will learn how to fold the craft, which is pretty simple. It's just you take the outer corners and you fold them inward, and then you flip it and then you flip it over and do the same. And I'll have Mackenzie playing the game with me today. Oh, sorry about that. So as you can see on the outside of the game, there's a different number of mosquitoes on each 4 cup. And then so to begin with, Mackenzie, can you like pick a number of mosquitoes that's on here?
4.
All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on the inside, there's various symptoms written in really simple language, but if needed, it can also be adapted to Hausa or other kind of symbols as shown later in the game. So pick a symptom.
Stomach pain.
And then we can either do it by like spelling or syllables. So stomach pain, and then pick the last symptom.
Fever.
And so now that Kenzie picked fever, her objective is to like explain like how a fever might look or manifest in people with malaria. So how would that look like, Kenzie?
A fever will look like when your body is, well, it will feel when your body is really hot and like you're basically overheating.
And then once we open the 4 cups game, we can see that there's a little illustration of how it looks like. And it matched pretty much what Kenzie said. So that would be considered a win in our book.
So this is our itemized budget. Our budget was $500. So we created 10 decks of the custom playing cards, which was $218. Created 5 books to donate to the schools in Bauchi. So that cost $150. 10 posters to hang around at hotspots, which community leaders will tell us about at the workshop, which cost $37.50. And 30 sheets of paper for the workshop so they can create their own fortune tellers or 4 cups, which cost 30 cents. So in total, we spent $405.80.
And these are the handouts. This is the poster, the storybook, and then the playing cards.
This is our first page of resources that we used. And then this is our second page. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Wow, guys, that was quite captivating. Well done. An excellent presentation. When I was maybe last week, I was describing breeding grounds for mosquitoes. That was exactly what I wanted on my head. That picture you depicted, I love the way you go to town, really doing it the way it should be done. And the story of Musa is like, Musa is like one of the commonest names, and people used to joke a lot with it. And then I like that. That's excellent. All the games, you can see this is very practicable, and people should be able to learn a lot. Men, women, and children. That's great. Well done, guys.
Thank you.
That was very fun to watch and fun to listen to, I would say. So I can imagine that during the workshop, you would have everyone engaged and they would kind of completely understand what you're trying to do. And I can see how the community leaders will be able to help to like show you the best places to have your posters up, as well as the teachers will be able to take the storybooks and help kids. And then if one kid makes the game, they can play with all their friends in their neighborhood. And that way you're kind of like spreading the awareness versus spreading the disease. So that was really nice. I would say good job. I liked your presentation. It was kind of everyone was part of the team and everyone was like talking and you all kind of know each other and you were like feeding off each other. So good job. Yeah.
Thank you very much. The team Malaria Transmission and Symptoms. Like what Dr. Jallo said about the high risk areas where you projected the picture of a puddle, like a puddle, and it's exactly how it looks. It's exactly what it is. Okay, so that was great. That was amazing. Also, the idea of translating most of these things to Hausa, awesome idea. The idea will definitely not miss some people who can't speak English. Okay. However, in your target audience, you said community leaders to help you post pictures or something, post posters, and they will engage in your community workshops and all. No, community leaders don't do that. Okay, they see themselves as very high up there. They are highly respectable people, and Africans love power and respect and all this. So they will not do that. You can only seek approvals from them. And if they have like a representative or somebody, they can assign that person to go with you. So you might, maybe instead of community leaders, you can put LI staff or some people who like volunteers. There are some volunteers who would agree to do that. No, posting posters. Can you take it back to target audience? Yeah. Listen, just no, next. No, not back, forward. Here, community leaders will be able to hang up the posters in hotspots. Okay. Important, exactly. Exactly.
Exactly. So instead of community leaders, you can put maybe allied staff or volunteers, some people who will be able to help you hang those posters. Okay. So the community leaders, also, maybe you could just suggest go to maybe their houses and talk to them, seeking approval, or I don't know. Mostly that's what we do. We go there, seek their permission to be there, explain to them why we are here. So maybe they could learn passively when explaining to them what you're here to do. So even if they have never heard what you're here to do, you have told them. All right. So that was wonderful. And for the playing cards, how do you play it? I didn't get any rules or any ideas. You just posted the cards and the pictures of malaria symptoms. Is there like a rule to play in the game, or how do you expect it?
For our playing cards, we have a malaria match game. You basically lay out all of your cards, and because there's 4 suits, there will be 4 cards of each design that you can match. You can flip them over and slowly match them up.
Okay.
But over time, as we distribute these playing cards to places people like to hang out in, restaurants, tea shops, schools, people can come up with their own games or play games that already are used with traditional playing cards.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was amazing. Wonderful. I love the confidence, and thank you very much, guys.